Hello, welcome to another episode of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition live forum. I'm your host, David Dadekian, a small business owner here in Rhode Island. I own Eat Drink Rhode Island, and I'm very glad to have you with us again today as we've got Mayor Joseph Polisena from Johnston on with us. As always, you can watch us on Facebook here, leave comments and questions. Check out rismallbusiness.org, and welcome Mayor Polisena.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and to all the people that are watching and listening as we go on here. First of all, I don't know if you know, Johnston's very business friendly. I think, and I know that the small business is really the economic engine that drives our community. It's nice to have big businesses what we have in my town, like Amazon and other businesses. But the good thing about big business like that is that smaller businesses will benefit from the amount of people that will be hired, and it has like a cycle effect. But we've been always business friendly, especially with the mom and pop businesses, and we think it's important that when someone comes to our city hall and they want to open up a business, we make sure that they get really superb treatment, because they are the economic engine, I think, that drives the state. And small businesses put people to work. They're local. I can't stress enough about people shopping locally, whether you stay in Johnston or you go to Providence or Cranston. It's important to deal with the local businesses and people as much as you can. So I'm very proud to be here and honored to be here. And I'm open to questions. I'm not shy. I don't know if you know me, but I'm not shy.
Yeah. No, I'm not worried about talking with you at all. Why don't we start there with town hall and the business process? I mean, I've got questions for that later on, but we'll start there since you brought it up. What is the process now, and how does town hall work with folks? And if you have a particular business person, let us know their contact info. We'll put it up on the screen. But how's that going there?
So what happens is, if someone wants to open up a business, they'll come to the town hall to get on the council agenda. We have a very friendly staff in the town clerk's office. They help them. If they have to, they'll walk them through, hold their hand through the process.
Great.
Then they'll be on the next council agenda. And we always have a council meeting on the second Monday of the month. So it has to be posted for at least, I believe, 48 hours.
Right.
So we want to make sure, if they're thinking of coming before the council or they're applying for a business, that they come early so we get them on right away. If not, they have to wait till the following month, and I don't like to put people on hold. So they just come, very business. They fill out a form. It's a small fee that's obviously charged. I think every other community charges. They go before the council, and we really never refuse anyone to come into our community. If it's a liquor license, then the council has to adjourn and sit as the liquor license, and they approve that if it's a restaurant or a bar, and it works smoothly. When I do go to the council meetings, I always commend them for coming into our town and welcome them. So it's a relatively easy process. If they have to have inspections by the building official, or if it's a fire department issue, then I make sure that there's no waiting. It doesn't sit on someone's desk, especially when people are spending money in our community. Spending money in our community. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
They're spending money in our community. We want to make sure that they get taken care of right away. As they say, time is money and money is time. So
right.
if they're generous enough to come to our community and open a business, we want to make sure that it goes through smoothly. And I encourage people, if they have any issues, to call me directly at 401-553-8800. I'll be honest with you, I've got a great town clerk's office. My town clerk's great. The deputy town clerk, the ladies that work in the office are excellent. And they've kind of known since I've been here, since 2007, that we're very business friendly. So it's very easy. If you have any issues filling out any of the paperwork, the ladies are there to help. We make it as easy as possible.
No, that's great. Thank you for that summary. That's really nice to hear. I mean, yeah, it is certainly, I don't want to say, speedy, but every process in the state can vary in speed. So it's good to hear that there's some progress there and trying to keep things moving. And as you mentioned, the town council meeting at the second Tuesday. Was it second Tuesday of every month?
It's the second Monday of every month. Unless Monday's a holiday, then they'll have another on the Tuesday.
Got it. So keep that in mind if you're a small business looking for Johnston, second Monday of every month. So let's talk. A lot of people think about Johnston, and they think about, for business wise, that intersection of Hartford and Atwood Avenues. is a big hub for a lot of what's going on in the town. But you know, especially from my work with farms and things like that, Johnston's got a broad spectrum of small businesses. The you know, you've got Dame Farm up in the northwest corner. Salisbury down in the southwest corner. One of my favorite vineyards in the state.
Yes.
Verde is you know, people don't think of Rhode Island wines, but there's a great vineyard in Johnston. So you've got this rural blend and that sort of suburban urban blend as you get closer to Providence and North Providence there. What are you doing to attract new businesses? What do you see as a way to get more businesses into Johnston?
Sure. So in fairness and equity, I want to also mention Peasant Farm.
Yeah, that's another great farm. Yeah,
and of course we've got Buffoni's farm. They've got fresh.
Oh, of course. How could I not
mention
mention the best chicken farm in the state?
And we also have Stamp Farm. My wife buys the eggs through Stamp Farm and obviously goes back and forth to Buffoni's to support both businesses. So what we do is, as I said before, we're kind of in the center. You know, we're close to Route 10 and Route 295. You can get to Johnston in a matter of minutes. We are very business friendly, and as I said before, we want to make sure that if you're coming into our community, you'll have all the facts when you come to town hall, what you need to open up a business. And we just encourage people. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Dave, it's word of mouth. I mean, I since I've been here in 2007, you know, and this is both big businesses and small businesses. We've got about $2 billion. That's 2B with a 2 billion with a B in new businesses. And a lot of the bigger businesses that come in assist and help the smaller businesses. For instance, our restaurants, the mom and pop restaurants, whether it's Luigi's, whether it's Pat's Italian, whether it's the Atwood Grill, whether it's other smaller restaurants, you know, all these businesses that are in Johnston, the bigger ones and the medium to size businesses, the good sized businesses, they have people that go to lunch. They have people that buy gas. They have people that food shop. So to me, it's kind of a cycle. It's kind of circular, and it kind of feeds off of one another. As I said before, we have, you know, some people, most people are happy. A couple of people may be a little concerned about Amazon coming. The good thing about Amazon is I told them in the agreement, they have to, obviously, if they're going to order stuff, they need to buy from local. And they did agree to that. That's important. And obviously, those people that are going to work there, they're going to spend their money in Johnston. No offense to other community, but they're going to buy their gas. They're going to buy their food, buy their milk, buy their bread, do their shopping in Johnston, as well as the other stores that they'll visit. So we have a very, and I always tell people, if your streets are quiet, because people sometimes complain of traffic, and traffic's a way of life. Traffic is a good thing. If you're a mayor or a town manager or a town administrator, and you've got no traffic on your roads, especially your busy roads with businesses, you got a problem. You got a real problem. And with all of the businesses, especially the mom and pop stores and the other businesses that have come, we've been able to stabilize our tax base. And that's important too. Plus, it's created hundreds and hundreds of jobs. And, you know, I'll give you, for instance, Market Basket, they opened up. I was told roughly about 70 to 73% of their employees are from Johnston. So it helps with the communities. It all ties in together. So as I said before, we, you know, if anybody wants to open up their business in Johnston, we welcome them with open arms. No matter how big, how small, medium size, you're welcome here. And as I said, you know, I see other communities where they have a difficult time because, you know, you'll get a couple of people that'll come to a council meeting and bap. But, you know, that's not fair to the business. You know, we listen to everybody when they come before the council. But usually if someone has any opposition, it's usually because they don't like competition or they just, you know, there are a lot of nasty people out there. But my point is we go by what the business owner or the business manager is saying what they're going to do. And we take that at their word. And we, like I said before, we, you know, whether it's, and I say it, I'll probably repeat it 10 more times until this is over, but we want to make sure that when you come to Johnston, you're opening up a business, there's no hidden secrets like, oh my God, I didn't know about this. And sometimes there's been issues where the business owners, men and women, have had an issue with the application. And if it does get to the council will correct it right there. So this way they're not waiting another month for the next council meeting. So I've got a very, very pro-business council. And the other thing I have that's pro-business is important is at a different level is a pro-business zoning and planning board. And that's important too. That's very, very important. You know, if someone wants to come in open up a restaurant, maybe make it a little bit bigger, they might have to go before zoning and planning. But my zoning and planning board members know that, I hate to use the term and be cliche, we mean business and we want business. So I've got a very, very good planning and zoning board. They're very pro-business. So if someone needs to, go before the zoning and planning board, that's not an issue either. We try to expedite things for people coming into the town, because as I said, I'm honored that they're coming to the town, and I'm not going to have their application sitting on someone's desk, because if I find out that happens, that person may not be working for the town too much longer. So.
All right. Well, it's great to hear that. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of processes. We all know that. Any of us who own small business know there's a lot of steps, a lot of keys to getting your business going in different towns. And the reality of Rhode Island is it's different from town to town in many cases too. We've all kind of had those stories about how there are 39 different rules, here. But to be able to streamline the process as much as possible is good to hear. And I like to hear that. The town council can be proactive like that with documents, because there's a lot of documents. It's a reality, and hopefully a lot of that can be moved online with a lot of cities and towns. I don't know what's the online status for registering businesses and things of that nature in Johnston.
So we haven't switched totally to online yet, because I think sometimes it loses its personal touch. Where if a person has a question, I'd rather have them. Listen, I'm 67 years old, so I'm from the old school. I want to talk to somebody with a pulse. I don't want to, go on a computer and try and guess. So we really, they can get the applications online, print them down, and then, fill them out and bring them in. We'd rather see the person come in. So if they do have any questions, and quite frankly, my staff we welcome the people saying, welcome to our town. Thanks for coming in. So we haven't really switched over entirely to all online stuff. And I know that's the wave of the future. I guess I'm kind of old, and, not that I don't appreciate the online stuff, but we've had success in what we've been doing since I've been here 2007. So.
All right. Well, it's certainly something to consider, and I think it's something that our members have brought up as maybe a use for some of the ARPA funds that cities and towns are getting is to streamline processes and move things online. So you've got room for growth, and hopefully some more funds now to do that as well. Why don't we talk about the ARPA funds? What are there any plans yet in Johnston for the ARPA funds? That's the American Rescue Plan Act funds for those of you out there who don't know the acronym. Anything specific to small business or any planning in general that's going on yet?
So not as of yet. I've been looking at a couple of things, talking to the council. So the issue is, people say, well, you should extend the sewer lines and water lines. The problem is, I've got 5 council members in 5 districts. So if I start spending money in, say, districts 1, 2, and 3, and I run out of money for 4 and 5, that's not good, not fair. So I've looked at a couple of things, and we're going to run it by the council. First of all, we don't get many requests for small businesses for any assistance. They come in, they do their thing, which is good, I guess. Second of all, I'm looking to possibly to get the maximum amount for our dollar. And we're getting 8 million, a little over 8 million, I believe. Which shrunk. I heard we were getting 12. It's down to 8. So I want to hurry up and get the check before it shrinks even more. But that being said, we're looking at probably consolidating our police and fire headquarters, building a police and fire headquarters on Atwood Avenue. We'll probably have to put a few more $1 million into it, but that's going to help us where if we do that, combine the police and fire, there's a beautiful piece of property on the corner of Cherry Hill and Atwood. That would be where the police station is. That would be excellent for a business or businesses, or, like a bunch of stores. But that being said, we're looking at that, and I'm looking for the fairest way, because we have drainage issues in the town, but we fix them a little bit at a time. But my concern is, as I said, is if I extend where I live, I have no sewers in the western part of Johnston. So I need about 50 million to sewer the whole town, but in that particular area. So, and in fairness, so each district, because I'd have to divide the money fairly with 5 districts. I think the best thing to do is everybody wins, that the community wins, is to have one major police and fire headquarters, obviously a newer building, a more efficient building, a green building. So that's a possibility that we're looking at. We're not, we'd like to do other issues, but quite frankly, when it comes to the drainage issues, and we've been in our roads, we've been doing that right along. So we've had money. I've had back-to-back surpluses since I've been the mayor. When I took over in 2007, I had a $10 million deficit, and I couldn't make payroll. And it was, in fact, my predecessors stole all the furniture. I had no furniture. I was like Mr. Ed. standing up like a horse. And we had nothing. We were broke. But cooler heads prevailed. I brought everybody in, and here we are today with a $35 million cumulative surplus. Bond rating went up about 8 or 9 points. I know I'm digressing from your original question, but I'd like to.
No, it's okay. I mean, I looked up some of this stuff before we did the show, so I had some information. And yeah, the bond rating and those things that nature is very impressive to see. I mean, it takes time. That was 14 years, and that's great to see.
And we have, like everything else, David, we have pension issues, but the pension issues, you chip away at them a little bit at a time. And I don't know if people that are watching and listening realize when they tell you that you have an unfunded pension liability, what they look at is, let's say, for instance, I have 88 firefighters and there's 76 police officers. If I walked in tomorrow morning and I got 88 retirement papers on my desk from the fire and 76 from the police, we'd be in trouble. But that doesn't. But I understand the rating agencies. That's why they do that. And quite frankly, when they do that, they really hurt city or town's reputations. So we've addressed our pension issue, and I know I'm digressing, but it's the overall health of the town, why we want businesses to come into town, why we're thriving. But we've addressed our pension issues, and we put a mandatory funding mechanism in. So this way, when I'm gone someday, the next person can't say, well, I'm not going to make the payments to the pension. I'm going to do something wherever. I'm going to do roads so I can get votes. We've done our due diligence. So we've come a long way. And, I'm lucky because I have a good staff. And people say, well, were you in business before? Well, I wasn't. I was a firefighter, a nurse, and a professor. So and I was a state senator, of course. But my point is, you got to run the town like a business, even though we're not a business. But I try to run the town like a business. We don't have the money, we don't spend it. And as I said, I think it proves too that Johnston has a very good reputation now. We're in this. I call it we're in the center of the universe, and that's why businesses want to come here. We're business friendly. We have a great community. That's a very people want to live, work, and play in Johnston. So that's why it's important for small businesses to, if they're thinking of opening up a business or extending their business, or coming to another community, we welcome you with open arms. And quite frankly, I can. Basically, as long as the paperwork's done in this, we have a saying: when you submit, we permit. So, as long as their paperwork's in order, I'll make sure that they'll be on the next council agenda. If there's any issues, we try to address it that day that they come into the town clerk's office with the paperwork. So, I didn't mean to digress and ramble, but
no, it's okay. Elected officials do love their rhyming sayings. That's it's always fun. And when we talk about the ARPA funds with a lot of our members, we understand that direct payments and things of that nature are not really the focus here. But community health, like you said, infrastructure, things of that nature, are things that will help a business be
Correct.
Productive and profitable in a community is very key. And roads, sidewalks, curb cuts, drainage, things like that. If your business is in a spot where all that is in place, and so you can get customers in and out efficiently, that's a help to the business. So things like that, if we could see those things happen with the ARPA funds, and of course, from a small business perspective, if you or the town council is ever in looking for information from small businesses, we poll our members. We have a lot of information and data that says what it is that they're looking for and what helps them run small businesses. So we're happy to share that with you and the town council if that's needed.
Right.
You'd mentioned losing my train of thought here for a second. Let me go back to the question. Bigger businesses. We talked about bigger businesses, and obviously Amazon is the big one right now. But
Right.
but Johnston's always had big businesses. I think that's interesting. For people who don't think about historically, Citizen Bank is there in Johnston. It's a huge corporate headquarters. Prior to that, FM Global was probably the biggest corporate headquarters in the state at one point, and that's there in Johnston. When you have tax revenues and other revenues from those types of businesses, and I know Amazon, the deal is going to yes, they get a tax break, but they're going to also give up to $7 million a year in taxes, even with that tax break, plus another $500,000 a year for public safety. Can you see those funds being used in ways that will help small businesses as well? I mean, we talked about their employees, but how about the actual funds that are coming to the city and town? I mean,
so let me go back a little bit and tell you exactly what the Amazon agreement is. So yes, we did. They did get a tax stabilization agreement. Same way citizens did. But this is going to what we're going to do. Here's another thing too that helps small business too. So what we're going to do is obviously the deal we got. When you look at the one-time fees, about $538,000 for public safety, and they're going to pay for the PTech programs for 20 years for the high school. So that's another $550,000 to $600,000.
Which is fantastic. That's a great advantage.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. And plus, if you look at it, I do it differently. I'm a basic math guy. So if you add up what we're getting, even with the one-time payments divided by 20, it's about $8.2 million a year for 20 years. The other thing people don't realize in Johnston and in the state, and I'll say you're welcome to all your listeners, we've got the largest landfill in the state. We take everyone's garbage. Now that's going to be closing someday. And when that closes, whoever's sitting in the seat as mayor is going to have to look for about $6 million. That's about $4 change in payments and another $1.5 million in free tipping, because we don't pay for our tipping, obviously. So that's another issue. So getting back to Amazon, the state's going to benefit also, because the state's going to make out, for whether you like them or not, they're going to make out with the tolls. There'll be about $4 million a year in tolls they're going to collect. Then the state's going to collect on $57 million in payroll tax, whatever that tax is going to be. Plus, we got some money. Governor McKee was very active in this process too with us and very helpful. We got some money for the jobs creation program, and we got another fund. Plus, I was able to get them to sign on for 10 years. They're going to pay RIP up to $90,000 a year for those employees that live in Woonsocket, Central Falls, Pawtucket, and Providence that may not have a vehicle. I mean, we're very lucky. We have cars. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people want to go to work. So that's also an agreement. That's not over 10 years. That's $900,000. So with that being said, I mean, Amazon's a huge financial windfall, if you will, for the town, but also for the state. And they're going to employ, unfortunately, and I say this, I've said this before, we've lost a lot of jobs in the hospitality industry. And unfortunately, a lot of them may not be coming back. And people might not want to hear that, but that, people kind of, pack it in and they get frustrated. They throw their arms up in the air, difficult enough to do business in the state. Now with COVID hitting, a lot of them maybe didn't get enough of the funding there should have been more. I always say we're sending money to countries that people want to kill us. We should be taking care of the businesses and the people in this country, which we're starting to do now with the passing of the $1 trillion and so forth for infrastructure. But that being said, it's very important, I think, that we encourage, places like Amazon's big, be 2,000 jobs, and they are going to use whatever business, whether it's a local Luigi's Catering or whether it's a local restaurant, they're going to use places like that. And they said they would. And also we're working on, if you'll allow me, you talk about jobs, we're working on a for-profit hospital. I don't know if you heard about that. So
I haven't heard about this one.
Yeah. So on Route 6, it's called Encompass, and they're a rehab hospital. So what they're going to do is they're going to spend about $50 million, about $48 to $50 million. Who knows what the cost of materials are? $48 to $50 million to build a rehab hospital. They'll hire about 120 to 150 employees. Those are doctors, obviously, administrative people, secretaries, nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists. So that's also an important aspect. And then I'm also working on another project where it would be about a 600,000 square foot warehouse, another 300 jobs. So we're looking at places like that because, as you know, I don't have to tell you and your audience, unfortunately, malls, there's no more malls. There's no more malls. And that's sad. I mean, I'm a guy from Sears. I love Sears. When Sears went under, I think I was crying for about a week because I used to be in Sears every week buying tools, buying this. So there's no more malls. And people are just doing warehouses. So in order to keep your tax base strong, and the other thing too, I want your audience to know, is that they've talked about building new schools. One of our schools is over 100 years old. The Johnston High School, I was the charter class to go through it. Next year, I'll be out 50 years. So our schools are old. So what they're going to do is they're going to build schools. They want to build a central elementary school, which they'll probably close 3 other elementary schools and consolidate one big school. They want to put about $30 million into the high school, $30 million into the middle school, and build an early childhood center. Now, you say, well, we're going to borrow about $215 million. You say, well, where are you going to get that money from? We're going to have enough money to pay the bond off when Amazon kicks in. So technically, people are going to get free schools, and I hate to say that, but when I say free, I think you know what I mean. And now that's less burden on the businesses coming in, whether it's the tangible taxes or other taxes they pay. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but by not having to raise the taxes to build new schools, and we need new schools. We don't. I mean, I'm a strong proponent of public education. We need new schools. My son is the vice president of the council. He led the charge to use the money to build new schools, and plus we'll have extra money over to stabilize the taxes, to do drainage, to possibly improve the road structure for businesses, to make sure that there's enough, that the traffic is flowing, maybe whatever we have to do. So I think people listening and watching may not think so, but I think it all ties in, where when you've got stable taxes, new schools, new businesses coming in, the taxes are stable, so we're not hitting the businesses up for tax money. And as I said before, people, some people, well, why did Amazon get a deal? Well, listen, they're not going to come here. Whether they come to Johnston or Jamestown or Woonsocket to Warwick, they're going to look for obviously some type of agreement. I will tell you this, and I don't mean to obviously go on about Amazon, but I will tell you this: we got one of the best deals they've ever given. We've set the bar up now, so wherever else they go, they're going to have to pay up. So, and
I think Americans in general have it's an unfortunate reality that large corporations like this have to get these tax breaks to come in, but they do, because otherwise, they'd be right over the line in Massachusetts or over the line in Connecticut. Right. Like it or not, but we've lost the appetite for some of these breaks, and to be able to hopefully, like you just listed, give them that break, but at the same time take the monies and put them into the community and into those possibilities. Like you said, if we can keep taxes stable for small businesses, that's a win. Or maybe eliminate the tangible tax, that's a win. Things of that nature it is still a win for small businesses. And yes, I think, in Amazon's case specifically, it hurts retail. We're not going to debate that, but I think, retail as small businesses has changed over the years. There's a lot of other small business. And like you mentioned, hopefully, all these new employees. Well, first of all, before it's even built, all the construction work is going to be local. But the new employees will use small businesses, use town services, in that nature. Let's talk about that for a second, because in 2 weeks ago, I talked to the mayor of North Providence, and we talked about housing and population growth, and he admitted that there's very little room for growth in North Providence in that area. But I think Johnston's a different story. Do you see housing growth? Do you see new housing for all these new employees? Not all of them will come from Johnston, but like you said, Market Basket, a lot of them came from Johnston. So maybe the same thing will happen with Amazon. How do you see that working out?
So I what I see is the houses become more valuable when you have a place like, whether it's Amazon or whether it's even Citizens Bank, because most people, they want to live in the community in which they work, which I understand that. We're seeing a housing boom now in Johnston. I have to be honest with you. Now, as far as the prices go, we have no control over that. Prices are out of control when it comes to buying a house. But we've seen a boom, and that's why we need to get prepared, because with each house, and I've done the figures over and over again, with each house you get about, now keep in mind, I've been a nurse for 37 years. You get 2.3 kids. Now, I like to know who the 2.3 is, but you get 2.3 kids. In Johnston, it's about $15,000 to educate a student for regular ed, for any type of special ed or an IEP. It goes up to about almost $30,000. And, the state is giving us less and less reimbursement. So, and by the way, I have no problem paying whatever we have to pay. We need to educate. We need an educated workforce, but we owe it to our youth the same way that the people, when they were my age, when I was in school, they owed it to me to get a good education. So I have no problem with that. So as far as housing goes, we're seeing a lot of growth in the 55 and older units, whether they're condos or whether they're apartments. So we're seeing a lot of that. And they're building about 114 apartment units up off of Greenville Avenue, almost near Citizens Bank. So we are seeing a lot of growth. And we've been successful, David, in keeping the housing in one area and the businesses in the other, so it doesn't interfere. You understand what I'm saying? So, we have, as I said, we have a lot of room for growth. We've got, for instance, the Amazon, they purchased 115 acres. They're only using 60 or 65 acres. So there'll be a lot of open space, and there's no one more greener than Amazon. So we're not worried about them cutting all the trees down and so forth. Right. So getting back to your housing, we have a lot of elderly in our town, a lot of elderly complexes, and quite frankly, when we start to close these schools down, they're solid buildings. They're old brick buildings. I think a Class 6 hurricane couldn't take them down. I'm hoping that a developer will look at putting senior housing in them, making them apartments for senior housing. I think that works. I mean, there's where the schools are. Most of the schools, there's sewers, water. There's obviously the utilities. So I'm hoping that the town sells some of the schools and we turn it over to maybe a contractor that wants to come in and build, whether it's elderly housing or obviously affordable housing. That might be an issue too. One of our schools, we're very close with Tri-Community, the old Tri-Town, which is in Johnston. And they're renting out one of our schools that we hadn't been using for a while because they're growing so much, and they do a lot for the community. Joe DeSantis is the CEO of it's called Tri-County. I'm sorry, and he's the CEO, and they do things like food programs. In fact, we're opening up a food bank in the community. They do things like health centers and so forth. So we're trying to meet the needs of the community. It's difficult. You can't do it all in one day, but we're getting there, and we're a lot further now than when I sat in the seat in 2000. Actually, when I stood up in 2007, when I had no furniture. A little dig.
No, it's okay. I hear you. I did lose you for just a brief second there, but so if you've touched on this, I apologize. But I wanted to mention in regards to housing, perhaps there's a use for some funds for something to keep it affordable. The housing market is booming right now, and it's great for those people who can afford housing. But I think, and again, looking at a business like Amazon, they're not minimum wage jobs. Thankfully, Amazon pays above minimum wage now. But people are aware it's not the highest paying job, and if there's an option for affordable housing to get more people into the community, that should be encouraged as well, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, we do encourage it, but I think that's something that with all of this federal money around, I think the state needs to take the initiative, because quite frankly, it would be unfair to the taxpayers in Johnston to have to pay for that and have to put up money for that. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think the taxpayers would like that at all.
Oh, no, I agree. I don't think it should fall on the taxpayers at all. I was thinking along the lines of the ARPA funds and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
it shouldn't fall on the taxpayers.
Yeah, as far as the ARPA funds, I think the 30,000 residents in this town would get the maximum use out of a police and fire headquarters, because that's something, public safety building, that everybody needs or will need someday. Yep. And, I mean, my fire department, being a former firefighter, we do about probably 8,500 calls a year. Out of those 6,500 rescue calls. My police department does 40,000 calls a year. So, they're there for the public. They're answering the public's duty. So,
right.
As far as, spending money on affordable housing with that money, I think I would get a very hard time from the taxpayers, because I think they want to see the maximum use out of that money.
That's an interesting thought. Well, hopefully the $500,000, over $500,000 a year from Amazon for public safety will help for fire and police as well.
Yeah, well, that's for 10 years. That's only for 10 years. The 500. Right. But however, the P-TECH programs are going to be for the 20 year, for the life.
Yeah, that's great.
20 years, and that could be up to $600,000. They're going to start up with the initial cost, which is about $400,000. They're going to be paying for faculty and so forth, and paying for the program. So they were very generous when it came to that. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, people, there's lots of different moving parts, obviously, with any town or city. But education, if you want, people are complaining about not being able to find good employees. Well, if you want good employees, you got to educate good employees too. So I think that's important.
Listen, as a college professor, I understand the importance of a good education, starting off in the elementary school, middle school, and high school, and going on to college. So I thought that the Promise program was a good program at CCRI. I'm partial because I used to teach there. I taught there for 36 years, but I think that's good. You need an educated workforce. In your business, you want to make sure people can work at the register and know what to do and what change to give back, not just relying on a machine, obviously. Right. So I think it's important that we educate our people. So once again, when you look at Amazon and you look at the employees, many, and I have to tell you, people are ecstatic about Amazon. Wherever I go, I was at a wake last night. I must have about 6 or 8 people. When's Amazon coming? I want to apply. And they're going to pay about 18. There'll be about anywhere from 200, 250 to 300 jobs that pay between $60,000 and $150,000. Now that's probably upper management. And then the rest of the jobs would be about $18 an hour. Plus they have a 401k. And I'm told that their healthcare program is like what they have up in like what Bezos gets. I mean, it's a good healthcare program. And that now they've announced they're going to pay for their employees to go to college, which is huge. I mean, I wish I was 18 again. So it's huge. And as I said, when you get places like that, when you get, the restaurants are very excited, by the way. I've spoken to small business people that have come in and they can't wait for it to open because they're going to see an increase in foot traffic, so to speak. Whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a convenience store, whether it's a gas station, whether it's a jewelry store that I'm looking at, whether it's CVS. So, and not that CVS is a small business, but the mom and pop stores, I think, are going to make out very well when you see an influx of people coming into the town going to work.
Well, I think also, you mentioned CVS, but I think from a small business perspective, from an employee perspective, I mean, I certainly don't, I want to support the mom and pops and the independent owners. I don't want to support a chain, but at the same time, we have to realize, especially, over the last year and a half or so, we've learned that, all these, bigger businesses like a CVS or a Stop and Shop employ our local neighbors.
Yes.
And so those local neighbors need jobs, and they will hopefully in turn go back into the community and spend in the small businesses. I mean, we should remember small business really runs the gamut. There's all kinds of small businesses all over the place. I think it's funny in looking up the data for this program, I knew that FM Global started in Rhode Island, but I didn't realize just exactly how small it was when it started, 150 years ago.
Yep.
And to now be this global company. So. That's the aspiration of every small business, right? I mean, we want to start small and start our businesses and get to a point where we really are happy and successful.
Listen, I remember Luigi's was a little small store on Route 44.
Yeah.
It's one of the most well-known restaurants in the state, quite frankly. It's
very
the
true.
Same thing with Pat Orlando's. The same thing with, when Hillary Clinton came to Rhode Island, she came to Johnston twice. The first time she ran, the second time she came to Atwood Grill. We had hundreds of people there. It was fabulous. And just so you know, too, when you talk about CVS, I just went to a ribbon cutting about 3 months ago for a pharmacy on Atwood Avenue, Atwood Pharmacy. It's a local guy. He's got his family working there. He's got other people working there. And I encourage people, if you sometimes people at CVS and Walgreens might get upset, but you get better service sometimes going to a local person that knows you, that will come out from behind the counter and speak to you, that doesn't treat you like a number. So my wife and I try to spend as much money as we can. Not that we have a lot of money, but to go doing local stuff, to meet local stores. Same thing with the restaurants. I mean, there are chain restaurants, but we go to a lot of local restaurants, the small pizza places that are trying to grind, the small little restaurants, the private restaurants that are opening up. So we do a lot of that, and I think is important. As I said, they're not going to get rich off of me, but I look at it this way. If I go and I see other people in a restaurant, it encourages other people to go, and you keep the local. It's all about the local economy when you look at Johnston, and it's all about statewide. I just wish that what I would like to see is that they declare a holiday for everything. I think and I was a member of the Senate for 12 years. I think and I should have did it back then, but you didn't think. I was young and stupid. But I think what I'd like to see is that they have a so-called a shop local holiday, whether it's a holiday weekend, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just promote it and just say, we want everyone to, shop locally, local stores, local shops, mom and pop stores. I think, I try to get that out there as much as I can. I have a cable access TV show, and I've done it a couple of times saying, don't forget to shop local. And I think it helps. Even if we do that a couple of times a year, I think, and listen, businesses, they got the heck knocked out of them with COVID. Let's be honest. I don't have to tell you that, or the people.
Yes, indeed.
They got, listen, we're Rhode Island. We're strong. We're America. We're strong. They'll come back, but we need to help them come back. They can't come back on promises. So I encourage people, and I encourage members of the General Assembly, maybe if they're listening, have a special holiday. Not that it has to be a holiday where people stay home, but call it a declaration of Rhode Island Day. Let's support small businesses in Rhode Island, small mom and pop businesses in Rhode Island. And I think that will help. If it gives them an increase of 20, 30, 40% for that particular weekend, hey, that's great. It's just some ideas I have.
Sure. No, I mean, I think, this past weekend with the Small Business Saturday is a nice start, but it's kind of nestled in there and with all the other big businesses. But at the same time, I'm also of the mindset of we need to tell people to do that all the time.
Yes.
every day.
You need leaders, mayors, managers, town administrators to even do a resolution. I mean, my son is thinking about doing a resolution to, small business Johnston. But let's support. This is the week. I'm just using this as a week. Let's make a Monday night council meeting. Okay, let's make it Small Business in Johnston Week. Support local businesses. We got a billboard outside. I could put it out there. Flash and support your local business. I think that's
and maybe it's some time of the year when it's not as prominent. I mean,
exactly.
It's great to do it this time of year, but
everyone's
out there shopping right now.
As you know, January, February, when it's slow, that's when they need the boost. That's when they need the boost.
No, it's a good point. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you very, very much, Mr.
My
Mayor. I
pleasure.
appreciate it. Anything you want to say in closing?
No, I mean, like I said, if anyone is interested in opening up a business or expanding their business, we welcome you with open arms. You can call me once again, 401-553-8800. That's my direct line to my administrative assistant. You give us a call if you're having any issues or you've had an issue trying to open up a business in this town. Let me know, because if I don't know, I can't help you. But I'm kind of really a hands-on guy. You know, what you see is what you get. I don't wear suits and ties. I wear sweatshirts. I'll tell you a funny. So my wife says, "You look like a slob all the time. Why do you wear a sweatshirt?" I said, "Well, if you go before me, you're going to put me in a suit." She said, "Yes." Well, I'll be in a suit for a long time, so I wear sweatshirts. As long as I help the people, that's all that matters, and making sure that small businesses are very successable. To me, that's my mantra.
All right. Well, thank you. We're going to hold you to it.
Absolutely.
We're going to pull our members and hold you to it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for your time today, Mayor Polisena.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. It really, I think, ran the gamut from all sorts of things. So I hope you're able to watch us live or watch us later. It's rismallbusiness.org is the website to sign up for the newsletter. Check out our poll. If you check out the Facebook page, the RI Small Business Facebook page, we've got a link to that poll right now. So you can take that, give us your information, let us know what's going on with you. And in 2 weeks, our last show of the year, we've got Mayor Picozzi from Warwick. So please tune in for that. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.